I quit my job at the end of 2024 to pursue my dream of becoming a professional artist. I had big goals and I thought that this journey would be easy peasy, but ignorance is bliss. After all, my vision was clear, my heart was set. But little did I know that this decision would change me in so many ways and teach me what it truly means to create a path for myself. If you're a fellow artist, a dreamer, or an ambitious person, then this video is for you. It's been 6 months now of quitting my corporate profession, and I wanted to sit down and reflect on the real lessons that I've learned and share them with you. And I wanted to make sure that these lessons were timeless. What I mean by that is no matter what stage of the journey I'm on or you're on, by reflecting and sharing it with you, it not only solidifies my own learning, but also helps in identifying the lessons that can stay relevant over time. And I've learned to stay away from the get rich and get successful quickly type of advice. An advice that tells us if we are not doing this one thing, then we are doing it wrong. Because I don't think that life works in that way. We don't just go from 0 to 100, from being the current to the future ideal versions of ourselves overnight. Just like the seasons that flow from spring to summer, autumn to winter, and back around again. I think that creating our own path is a very organic route. One that should evolve over time because we are not robots, we are organic human beings. But with that being said, of course, there are grounding principles and expectations that I feel have helped me navigate the seasons on this very misty path. And today I'm going to share my 3 top learnings with you. So let's get into them. Number 1, expect to pivot in small ways. This is something I learned from a book called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. In this book, he gives an example of a rocket setting off to a destination in outer space and the controller from the main station, which is guiding the rocket. And I'm going to paraphrase this story, but basically he explains that the controller is always telling the receiver in the rocket to turn 0.5 degrees to the south, and the rocket would go in that direction. But after a short period of time, the receiver would go again. You are heading in a different direction now. You need to turn 10 degrees north to stay on course. And this would happen every few minutes. But these little directions and signals ultimately help the rocket to reach its final destination. And this example has really changed the way I set expectations for myself. I am very hard on myself, and I think that a lot of us can fall into the trap of overthinking, feeling like if we don't get something right straight away, then A, we are on the wrong path, or B, we are not good enough, or C, we end up having more fatalistic thoughts. But actually, what if there wasn't a one quick solution to fix all of our problems? What if life, similar to the story of the rocket and the controller, was a series of internal guidances received at every few moments throughout the journey, always adjusting and pivoting ever so slightly in every moment? This is a generous piece of advice that has really helped me. For example, it took me a long time to find a way of organizing my creative life. Every step felt like a misdirection, and I had to constantly tweak the way I formed my goals or stick to my good habits or organize my days. But this story helped me realize that we aren't supposed to get it right, and there is no such thing as having a one solution to things. That the true way of reaching for our dreams might just be a series of constant redirection at every moment, and that this is completely normal. Number 2, finding your groove. So, getting out of an identity of going from a 9 to 5 job to having this freedom to schedule my own time was a big thing for me. It was a little mini dream that I had. I've always wanted it. But little did I know that there would be some inner gremlins that would make me feel ever so guilty and in a state of comparison. Let me give you some context. So my partner is in a traditional corporate profession and he's happy there. He has some flexibility in his working time, but he works from Mondays to Fridays, typically starting at 8 a.m. and ending around 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon. He attends meetings with his colleagues, goes to the office, and also works from home. The amount of times I felt guilty of not waking up early to start my day at 8 a.m. on the dot, the amount of times I've tried to keep up to a similar schedule and feeling rather like I was catching up to him is rather ridiculous. I think this can become more apparent if you are living with someone and you're both in a different career path. But what didn't help me was trying to spend my time the same way as I was in my 9 to 5 job. As an artist at this stage, my purpose is to make paintings. And as also a content creator, my purpose is to come up with creative topics that I can share on YouTube, to find the time to film and to edit, not to keep up with scheduled meetings and external deadlines. And it's important to distinguish these distinctions because I've also made the mistake of following the advice from any entrepreneur who have slightly different job descriptions and career paths to me. As in, they might be working in a team, they might have a physical venue, they might be selling a physical product like clothing and working with a supply chain or a fitness coach or in any kind of coaching. Even though they are also following their dream and fulfilling their purpose, it's slightly different to mine. Creating art requires practice and discipline, but it's also a profession that relishes in having some downtime. In fact, we make better work when we rest. Number 3, the path to mastery is a long game. This is something I learned from the book Mastery by this Aikido teacher called George Leonard. Basically, the premise of this book is that in our modern society, we are used to watching things unfold in a short period of time. For example, we watch a 2-hour movie where the hero or the heroine goes through some troubles, fight off the baddies, and overcome their inner and outer demons all in 2 hours. We see highlights on social media where everyone from our friends to our families to strangers meet all of their personal and professional thresholds and rites of passages, and it all seems instantaneous. But what we don't see is this period right here, where the amount of our efforts may not yet amount to a form of recognition or achievement of a goal. True mastery, as George Leonard puts it, is learning to live in the plateau and enjoying it. And naturally, we will reach our goal because we stayed the course. It's being in the state of staying curious instead of always plaguing ourselves with our goal in mind, worrying about when we'll achieve it, if we'll achieve it, if we are good enough for it, and why we haven't achieved it yet. I'll admit that quitting my job has added this internal pressure for me to make it straight away because after all, I've announced it to my ex-colleagues, my family members, my friends, my partner, and all over the internet, and to you. there is a pressure to provide income for myself and for my household. But I found that in the past 6 months, constantly thinking about my goal only makes it worse, and I end up in this fight or flight mode where nothing gets done. So whilst I'm currently on the path of developing my art practice, I told myself that I might as well own this chapter and make the most of where I'm at. Honestly, when I sat down to make these reflections of what I learned over the past 6 months, I had more things to share, but I think it's important to let these lessons sink in. It was hard, but I chose these lessons specifically because I think any of these advice would be relevant to me personally, no matter what stage of the path I'm in. So, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. It goes a long way. I'm going to make a part 2 of this video in the near future. So if you'd like to tune into that, then subscribe to this channel and to follow my journey of creating a sustainable and creative career for myself. And let me know in the comments, what lesson has this year taught you so far? I would love to know. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye. Growing my biceps.
I'm pushing the dog on the chain. I'm running up stones on the edge of the bank. Rally the troops for another refrain. I sing this softly to myself. I sing this softly